You started to touch on onboarding, so let's kind of shift to that kind of flow. Damien, would love to hear a little bit about how you think about onboarding customers. You mentioned you have a very technical product that often has a lot of back and forth and quick resolution times, especially while hands are on keyboard, might be really pivotal. I know you guys have used Slack for onboarding customers or during the onboarding or even POC stage. Can you touch a little bit upon that and some of the benefits you've seen or kind of how you guys think about using Slack for that?
Yeah, like onboarding in Slack it's similar to a POC, right? Like your onboarding is just redoing the POC. So like Bitrise is a mobile CI/CD system. So as you're onboarding and during the POC, you're probably doing one app, right? Maybe two. But then you might have 15, 20 apps, for the onboarding. So being able to, work with each of the stakeholders and each of the different teams at the company, and even bring in other stakeholders, on our side, it allows us to kind of, expedite the process, right? And what we found is like in those first, 30 days, there's certain milestones we have to get through. And if we can do those directly with the stakeholder on their side, we can knock those out in a few days, right? If we were trying to do that via email, right, there's always a lag. Same with having to jump on a Zoom call. You've only got that 30 minutes or that 1 hour to spend at it. And if you don't complete it in that time, then you're kind of back to where you began. So, we're seeing, like, on average, about, 5x faster onboarding to get them up to plan limit. So, when a customer purchases, X amount of credits, we want to see them hitting that monthly allowance. So our target is by 3 months, we want them at 80%. And then beyond that, we obviously want them to get up to 100%. But sometimes what can happen is if we have a customer who's a little bit too small for the shared workspace, they might be at 5 or 10% after 3 months, right? And sometimes what we'll do is we'll just make a decision. We say, look, we're going to give them a Slack workspace. We're going to help them, get to that point of value. And we're looking at how we can do that now at scale as well for the long tail. We're probably not going to use Slack for it. We're rolling out like live chat through Intercom, and that's going to be managed by the support team. But yeah, like for those larger accounts, to get direct access to a solutions architect who, really understands the technology and exactly what they need to do to get to that point of value.
That's really incredible. I mean, 5 times faster onboarding, and definitely see the benefit when you're kind of capturing people in that moment when they run into an issue and you're able to respond quickly and answer exactly what they need and get them back to it. And we saw that quite a bit at Branch as well. Ryan, what about you at Mixpanel? How do you guys use Slack? Do you put any guardrails in place when it comes to the onboarding phase, especially using Slack?
I mean, I think one of the common maybe fears with Slack is we're going to open this channel and the customer's going to never stop asking questions and it's never going to end. And there's going to be so much going on. I think the reality is like Slack is just a real-time communication channel to unblock. And so when you're thinking about onboarding, you're trying to get someone through these specific phases very, very quickly. If your ability to unblock is like somebody's email inbox to one person in an inbox and it could be sitting there for 24, 48, 72 hours, you're just creating a bad customer experience for your customer. If you're in Slack, you have a whole account team on there. They have access to bring in other resources into that channel, right? You're going to take what's 1, 2, 3 days into 1, 2, 3 hours, right? And you find that you can kind of tag team and bring other resources in as need be to really keep moving the conversation along versus, being stuck in someone's email inbox or, for instance, their schedule when the next 1 hour meeting slot happens to be available. And so I don't think we have the same like 5x stat that we see in onboarding, but we definitely see the customers who are in Slack, right, get to the milestones that we want them to get to much faster there than we do in other channels.
Yeah, it's really wild. And you mentioned something that I think we've seen, and I've seen personally, just that 1 or 2 or 3 days turnaround where maybe you check an email once or twice a day versus you might be living and working and breathing in Slack, and you might be able to respond or get a resolution to the customer much faster. We are going to touch on some of the challenges that presents here in a little bit, but Sonam, anything else to add in terms of the onboarding phase? I know you mentioned that you use a third-party ever after as well, but anything else you want to touch on or add on here for the onboarding phase in Slack?
Yeah. I think onboarding is where keeping the momentum going is really important. So your customer in pre-sales is super excited, is just signed the deal, is really like almost like gearing up to just get value from your product right away, and almost like, I think to lose momentum in the onboarding phase would be detrimental to any like future progress. And so I feel like over-investing in the onboarding phase makes a lot of sense. And I think over-investing in the way that you're communicating with customers during onboarding also makes a lot of sense. So the way that would look for us depends on the segment, depends on the CSM's account load. We do use a tool called Ever After, and I think they're here as well at Pulse for our scale segment, which is our highest volume segment. So that is kind of like a shared workspace for the customer admins to kind of guide their onboarding with a checklist. And then for other segments, we haven't deployed that yet. And for enterprise and strat, we'll more so kind of focus on like the shared Slack channels to manage the communications. And so I think the strategy is different based on the segment and based on the onboarding methodology and the customer journey for those segments. But overall, I think the thing I want to emphasize is like keeping the momentum going through onboarding and making sure that you're getting the customer on the right path from day one of them being a customer is important.
Love that.